Hey everyone. Sorry I can't make it there today.
You're good. Give me a second just to check folks in. I think we're gonna get started.
Where's the sign?
Everyone.
Good question.
I have it, sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Hello.
I'm gonna pass it to Ellie, pass it back to Anthony, and then we're gonna start.
You good? Yeah. Stealing my.
Isidro Simari, I emailed maybe like an hour ago or less, the updated agenda. If you have it, okay. 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, we do have quorum, so we can vote on.
Yes.
That's
Like
Anthony.
this park or something. Like real expensive.
But I won't have any.
We have quorum, so we're gonna vote on, or, if it passes to that, we'll vote on the cannabis, resolution. Oh, wait a minute.
Where's
Oh,
the?
yeah, we can vote on that. And then the only change is actually the traffic study. They did have quorum at, traffic that night, so we don't need to vote on it tonight.
So all the results?
I mean, this one you can have, that's just a sneak peek, but the cannabis one we're voting on tonight. Okay, so I may change it to tonight's agenda because it's June. Great time to kind of switch things up. That's gonna annoy me. But I did want to change it up a little bit, just because of where we're at. So in terms of it's just us, but for now, just for the record, because we're also live on YouTube. We have our board chair report, district manager report. Michelle should be joining online shortly. We're gonna kind of just tag team and talk budget there. Just checking back in on July, August, any specific committee meetings. And we'll consider the items from the cannabis task force, and then really talk about what resolutions are before us for June, and really carve out time to talk about City of Yes specifically, just so that we're all in alignment of what's happening. And then, any reflections from the 2023-2024 year. I did want to cut committee reports because you'll have that time to shine next week. But if you did want to share, any kind of reflections or considerations, particularly because I'll also be assigning, we have new members, so we'll be assigning in. And that's it, I think. Anything that we should add?
Did you call to order?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
No, you're good.
Okay, I think agenda's good as it's done. All right, so officially call the meeting to order. The time is 6:34 p.m. All right, I feel like a lot of what I did want to mention on my report tonight does dovetail a little bit into Ebenezer's and the treasurer's report. Yeah, can you do that? It'll be annoying for a little bit.
Yeah. There you go.
Some folks did say they were gonna be later.
I
Perfect.
was fine with the guy. His body.
But anyway, but yeah, this month's been really hectic because it is the end of the fiscal year, the end of our calendar year. So between kind of going to events and talking to the different CB chairs, especially around like City of Yes and some of the other topics we're working on. I've been very hands-on with like our rebrand and our projects there. And then second with that is finally the survey. I resent it. Michelle just walked in for online people. And so the survey is definitely a labor of love. We made peace with it's the first one. I will verify if it's the first one ever. And it's a template that we're going to share with all the other CBs. So if you do have regular communication with your committee members or gonna be emailing with them, please remind them to complete the survey. Our goal is to get 85% of our board to respond. And I mean, I outlined that at the beginning, but there's two big things, right? One is for this body, for you all as chairs to get feedback from your committee members. And then vice versa, right, for you to also offer that. So people have the option to be anonymous, but, really the findings from this is gonna help, how do we look at integrating new members? What activities do we need to do in the year? And we also have new staff starting, so that the survey findings, any kind of like things that are gonna fall to the staff, they get the summer to work on that. So I'm gonna keep sending them, like automatic alerts every, like 2-3 days or so. Try to incentivize it, so like if we get to that 10%, everybody gets to sneak peek on the new merch. So all of our new t-shirts and hat designs that maybe 2 people have seen, we'll be able to send those.
Where's that survey?
The survey is in the email, so I just sent it today. It's in your inbox today, and I think last week Thursday. Yeah, I can have printed versions. It's a little trickier printed. But it is SurveyMonkey is pretty easy to go. So go one question at a time and you can take your time. Okay. It'll be there today, and if anything, it'll also keep resending. So we'll get there. Anything else? No? Okay. All right, I'll pass it to Ebenezer for his DM report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to be back. Thank you for the cards that you sent and all your prayers and everything. It's good to be back. Like you said before, we have a new staff scheduled to start next Monday. 2 new staff, the vacant created by Chinel's leaving, and a new part-time person that's gonna be doing outreach. So they're scheduled to start on Monday. We are working very close in the closing of the fiscal year. This is the time of the year that we need to pay everything and also spend every money that we may have, and we are in the process of doing so. 2 or 3 audits are on the way for the Comptroller's Office and for another city agency as well. They want, to see how we are doing our procedure in payments, also the inventories, et cetera, et cetera. Those we need to work with that also parallel with the closing of the fiscal year as well. And I want to bring to the attention, for years you have helped me talking about the pathway to the Little Red Lighthouse, and we have an issue there with the columns supporting one of the ramps going to the George Washington Bridge. Last year, about this time, I had a site visit with DOT and the Port Authority representative, and they said they're going to study to identify a few columns that belongs to DOT according to the Port Authority, and those columns are in disrepair. Today, I got a phone call from DOT saying that DOT doesn't recognize those columns as them, that is not clear, that they need to do more research. So this is a matter that I have been working for many years. DOT seems not to take this seriously. I don't know if we need to push this and bring it to the media, maybe have a press conference there to put more pressure on DOT, because it's ridiculous what they do in passing the bucket and not to take responsibility on this one. Those columns that are in disrepair. So I don't know, I just bring the idea that if the board would like to do a press conference on site to bring this at the attention to this issue and try to resolve it as soon as possible. This is the end of my report. Is there any question?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Wayne, Darryl, we'll go around. Wayne, Darryl, and then.
Ebenezer, could you clarify the columns are supporting ramps that access the George Washington Bridge?
Yes.
And so is the question if the columns belong to DOT or if the land on which the columns sit belong to DOT?
Well, we went over all this before. The land belongs to the city or Parks Department, I believe, and they have an easement to have those columns there. The thing is that according to Port Authority, they are responsible for certain columns and not for the entire columns. And according to the Port Authority, these particular columns belong to New York City DOT. Why, what is they based to do that? I don't know. According to the land use in that agency, in Port Authority, identify those as a city property. And New York City DOT doesn't want to recognize that they have jurisdiction there. And this is a very old issue. I have been dealing with this matter. First was the cleaning. Nobody wants to clean that. Now it's the structure itself. It's not clear, to be honest with you. They are recommended to call a state DOT. I invited a state DOT for my district service cabinet meeting this week. Hopefully they can attend and try to have another side meeting like they were suggesting. But we have the same side meeting last year about this time, and nothing had happened.
Hold on, Daryl, we'll go back to Daryl.
That was my question.
Okay. Andrew?
No, I had a question about the audit. You had mentioned another city agency is conducting
One
an
is the
audit.
controller's office, and
Yeah.
the other one I really don't recall which agency. I think it's another division from the controller's office. One is looking for how we handle payments, and the other one is looking for the inventory that we had on hand.
Like physical inventory, like supplies and things?
Yeah, they ask literally for like all the supplies
I see.
you have, including equipment, folder. And
Great.
yes, Ebenezer, I don't know if you're checking your phone. I just texted you. 'Cause-
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but check your phone first, by the way.
And
Yeah.
hold on.
Yeah, and then Isidro. So Eliezer and then Isidro.
Who did you speak to at DOT, the Manhattan Borough Commissioner's office?
Yes, Manhattan Board of Commissioners Office, liaison, Mr. Lyle.
All right.
Blackwood.
All right.
And then Isidro.
Thank you, Catherine. Ebenezer, we also have the same problem on the land that connects the Manhattan bound from the Bronx into 181st that connects to the bridge. There's a piece of land there that is completely filled with junk. So if you're so kind and bring this to your meeting for the district cabinet, service cabinet meeting, will help a lot, because that is just absolutely outrageous what's going on there. And it seems like no one wants to claim jurisdiction. So this has to be clear out, because the community is the one that is paying the consequences of agencies not performing, not wanting to recognize that, that the land is theirs. So we need to bring this to an end. And you have, I know that you have complained to DOT many times, but DOT has to be more forthcoming. They have to be more responsible, this community board. Thank
Sure,
you.
sure, I will follow up. Is there any other question?
Yeah, it's going back to the issue of the columns that support the acts of draft. I mean, the Port Authority is a state agency, and so while we're discussing having a press conference, have we informed our state elected officials of this? I mean, it seems odd that the structural support for the access ramps to the bridge would be the responsibility of an entity other than the Port Authority, although I understand that support may be built on someone else's land.
Yes, the state elected official, the local one, they know about it because they attend to our district service cabinet meeting.
Right. Are we pushing them to help to get resolution?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, the other day I spoke with Congressman Espaillat. He said he has some funding available for the community. He said that he will willing to put money to repair that path. But now, not the particular, I was talking about the pathway itself that need to be repaired, the lighting and railing and paving, et cetera, et cetera. The columns is an agency problem, but Congressman Espaillat is willing to put money in that area to repair as well. Yes.
Chime in your, sorry,
And then
it's out of order, sorry,
Little Jim and
I'm
then.
out of order. This, I was just trying to use the analogy of 207, the bridge. Bronx, the connection to Bronx and Manhattan. Some of the line, I would say most of the line does belong to DOT. And the ramps for that go towards the bridge. Belong to DOT, so I'm not sure. I just felt like Ebenezer, I'll call you tomorrow. And I'll have someone who actually handles, it's not real estate, some department that actually deals with the land that DOT owns. And try and kind of like moving forward a little. But I get what you're saying, but maybe it's issues that even though it sits as the authority with the natural agency in charge, and not necessarily so many different moving parts, issues like bridges and so forth. So, you absolutely want to say.
It turns out this problem of who owns what, this has been going on for decades and decades. And in fact, even because it was a really nice guy at one point who ran the George Washington Bridge and the bus terminal. He said, "Oh, why don't you come to the top of our tower and we will look?" And we said, "Oh, we must go." So a whole bunch of us actually got to go to the top of the George Washington Bridge tower. I don't think they're doing that anymore. But the point is that it's a very old problem. But, you know, as we are clearly pointing out here, these columns belong to somebody. Somebody is responsible for them, but it's more, if there's something wrong with these columns and something happens, then they will be held to pay for the people responsible for it. So on some level, it's our job to alert, maybe even the mayor's office, it's his damn city, and say, go look at these things, you know, and because, you know, insofar as they may be dangerous, we cannot let this abide. But the other thing, you know, the general thing, maybe even if we don't get to go, maybe we can go to the bridge tower again, but if we don't, maybe that's something we should insist because as was pointed out, the Port Authority owns some stuff, New York State owns some stuff, New York City owns some stuff. There's stuff that New York City owns that state DOT fixes. And so it's this but maybe at this point, we should insist these agencies create some kind of task force and create some map of who owns what, so we don't have to talk to each other.
A map would be good.
Depends on the project.
Well, actually, for the longest time, the Port Authority and New York worked very well, and then we had this character named Giuliani, and that was the end of that. So.
Okay, all right, so, I know Ebenezer has to go down to the lobby for something, so we'll let him go, and then if anything, there's any other questions, maybe, we can get you back up.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think, I wasn't sure if we were gonna scratch it, Michelle, for, Yeah.
Yeah, unless you want to say anything on the.
yeah, because we didn't get the Crystal report, at a good time, because there's been so much expenditures made, but, yeah, we're making really good progress. So in terms of the projects we've mentioned, this room overhaul, the furniture is coming this week. Thursday, actually, to be specific. I know, end of an era here.
So where's our table going?
I think Catholic Charities Alianza wanted it for their downstairs. Yeah.
Cool.
So the furniture's coming this week.
We got a new table?
Yeah, like conducive to the work module, yeah. So if you want to do a U shape, a circle, training, whatever.
Okay.
It works. Yeah. We got our Natives, a designer for, you know, a lot of the CB materials, like the shirts and stuff like that, but also the flyers are already underway. We're gonna start ordering some of the materials this week already. We've also have a partnership with Valerie Mejia, aka Speedy History on TikTok. So that's also underway. So we're making a lot of progress on the items that you reviewed. Even some of our bathrooms here are gonna get some light updates and sprucing in the office side. So a lot happening. I don't know if it'll be all done like by the end of the month, but definitely come September. Hopefully it's a mini makeover.
With the bathrooms, is that just us or does the DA's office also use?
No, these are actually just ours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
they have
the
something
two.
internal.
Just the two.
Just those two.
Oh.
in the meeting room. Oh yeah, and then also the plaque, which I have to review with Liz. So I don't know if you remember when Betty Lehman passed, the board was in consensus of naming this room after Betty. Yeah, for those who don't know, Betty was longtime board member, long time serving as secretary over different periods of the board. And she passed suddenly in 2021. Yeah, 2021.
Right after the pandemic.
Yeah, I think it was 2021. And so yes, I reached out to Steve and Liz Ritter to help write like the plaque for her for the room. So working on that. So.
But, I mean, we're allowed to use this room, but it's actually not part of our office space, so can we do that?
Yeah, it's not a permanent plaque, it's just
Okay.
yeah, it's like a frame. Similar how we have the
It's
whiteboard.
only the living room.
Yes, we're not officially on, no,
Okay.
this is internally to us. So yes, I can't put it, I mean, we can ask, but on the outside where it says meeting room, it wouldn't be to replace that, it's just to commemorate her inside.
Yeah, this room is a pacifier for what our landlord.
But anyway,
But also with
Chair,
the-
what did you say the name of the
There's also
Instagram
TikTok.
account is that we're?
oh,
working on?
TikTok,
TikTok.
I don't think it's her handle, but she's known for doing videos on Speedy History. So she'll be doing the videos on
You know.
the historic the survey that we're doing with Historic District Council to identify more places.
Got it.
So she's doing 3 TikTok videos, one in English, one Spanish, one bilingual, 30 seconds to promote it.
She can afford it.
Yeah, so we'll see. All right, that covers, I think, budgeting. No other questions? All right, so for July and August, have any committees at all said, hey, we're trying to meet?
I just want to put it on
Just-
because we didn't have it.
I
Yeah.
wanted to say that I think we're gonna convene as a cannabis task force for a new applicant that was received this week. And it's very vital, like that we discussed. So we're just gonna look to set a date. I think some of us will be virtual, but I think we're gonna have the meeting just to get our voice or the community board input into the applicant.
Okay, so let us know what dates of the office is aware, and then that way they can start that process with the applicant.
Thank you. Double check with numbers.
All right, cool. So I'll pass it back actually to you, Simati, since now we're on items for exec. And the only one is the one in front of us for the oppositional votes.
Okay, if I could screen share, I wanted, say thank you for the time and thank you for working on all that.
Oh,
I mean,
is that what we're
actively,
talking about?
Catherine. Good to hear the videos taking off. So we've been trying to put together some language and resolutions for Office of Cannabis Management in regards to their new mapping that has been released. It's called the Proximity Protected Locations for adult use retail license or retail dispensaries. So I think, let me just double check if I can screen share now. Can you let me screen share? My bad.
Yes.
So I just wanted to share, I think just to give some context here. So we did kick off the Cannabis Task Force this year, and our first applicant was actually received in January, or set of applicants. Sorry, that's the dog over here. So we've been trying to streamline a process just in case for volume that's expected to come in the future. I think right now we've been seeing like a trickle through the last several months, and we wanted to just address this newly released, I'm just gonna share my entire screen, this newly released information. Okay, so here is the map that I was referring to. And here, if you search by zip code and like borough, you're able to see the applicants that are in the area. You'll see they're marked either in yellow if they're pending applicants or green if they're already active licensees. And I'll just move it a bit. I think we have like about 4 or 5 here on the map. I filtered by the zip codes. And just to give you a visual, but I'll stop there and get to the resolution. But this is just some context as far as like what we've mocked up here. I have a lot of language, so open to edits and cuts as you see fit. Any more experienced members here, but I think the gist of it, just to give you the overview, it's more so addressing any applicants that are listed on the map, because as per OCM law, they are supposed to give notice to municipalities, and that comes through the community board. So I think we've seen a varying a variety of scenarios, and we're going to address each one directly as opposed to doing a blanket, but we'll see what happens in the future. We see here this first applicant did not notify our task force, so that's kind of what the first line entails. And then I have lots of language on like what the map is, like a hyperlink to it, and kind of like an overview in these next paragraphs. So again, open to edits, but just to give you the overview here. So we just kind of detail and define what the map and the law states that is required, expressing our opinion, etc. And we want to provide an equitable application process, again, just to streamline for future volume. I've listed out here the date that we met. I put it in red just because I have to double check. So sorry, guys. I know we're supposed to vote on this. And then listing out here, like to keep the, well, I think we'll move it from here because it's double. So just to keep the equitable process, listing the date that we were meeting, and I'm going to take out present. Sorry, you see that I was copying some of your language. Thank you, Paula, for sharing. So again, just listing out the date that the task force met and what was not submitted. I think this one was a questionnaire and that they were not present, and that we're objecting to their application, because again, this map is more tentative and working draft, but we just want to abide and like be in compliance with the law here, that we're giving our input and feedback as a community that's going to be impacted by this establishment. So again, the first one was more so because they did not, they did notify the municipality, but they did not present to the task force, nor did they submit their questionnaire. And again, I'll get fact checked in case I have anything to edit here. I think the second one, so it's only 2 resolutions for 2 different businesses from the list. The second one, I wanted to call out that they did gain their license in May of 2024. So again, all of the same language here. They did not, I think they didn't notify, right? But just in case, let me know. So this, yeah, so this establishment didn't notify, nor did they present before the task force. And then I wanted to call out this here, but open, you know, to edits or suggestions in case I should move it over. So again, it's just more details on what the map entails and our right to express our opinion, to create an equitable process, the day that we met. I kept it in January, but I left it in red because it may have been another month that they were supposed to notify. And again, here they were missing the notice to both the notice to municipality and the questionnaire. So again, this is more to give our voice as the community board to these applicants, especially with this new application process that's very much still very gray for a lot of us. And again, just to streamline and set up a structure for the expected volume moving forward. I'll stop there because I've been talking for a little bit. Hey, Isidro.
Hi, Simari. So I'm glad that you're doing this, because if they don't fulfill the requirements set up by the Cannabis Association as an agency, and one of the stipulations is that they have to meet with, you know, our local community boards, then if they don't show up, I'll definitely be in favor of supporting this resolution. And I also recommend that, you know, they post a public notice, because the community also has to be informed. Our community cannot be neglected in any way, shape, or form, where some of these vendors might think that they have the power to not show up to the community board. So in essence, if we're not being respected by the vendors, then I'll definitely move to object to both of them.
Thank you, Isidro, and thank you for calling that out. I appreciate it because we did try to follow some of the structure that you have set up with licensing. So we actually did add that like as just a CB12 requirement. So I'll leave it in red just to see how we call out the difference here. But thank you. So I'll.
Hi, Samari. Thanks for your resolution. I was looking at the copy that I have in front of me, and I have 3 different prospective licensees. AL Broadway Grocery Corp, Healthy Choice Seaview LLC, and MWBE Cannabis Corp. But you've mentioned there's actually only 2 resolutions.
Yes, so there was an edit on my part because there's more than the 2 that I called out now. So I initially added an establishment that did notify the board. They just haven't. Say it again.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. They just haven't had a proof of control, so they haven't moved forward with the application, but they did give notice. So they pulled out and they'll come back later on when they're ready to present to the board.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, NWB may present to the board in the future.
Yes, so they're still here as a pending applicant. But yeah,
Got it.
thank you for calling it out. I was trying to work on some edits last minute. Sorry, guys.
All right, so just for clarity, the document that we have here is OST. Okay,
Yes,
It's
so she
30
it was-
minutes ago old, but yeah, that was my fault. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it was 1 for all, and then now it's
now it's
2.
also one.
Yeah, because we were thinking about doing a blanket statement
Yes.
or a resolution for anyone who's listed here that hasn't presented. But since it's gonna be a case by case with like those specific details on their process, we chose to do individual for now. And then here, just to let you all know, the reason we're calling for a meeting in July is here the Of the Earth Canna. It's a 133 zip code. We have to discuss. So it's a previous establishment. Yeah.
Eliezer wants to say something.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo Isidro's words, and I'm gonna pretty much just say that I support. Thank you, Simaris, for taking the time to bring this resolution in front of us. And I think more than that, we should set the precedent and the example of what's coming next. Because just 4, those 4 is just the beginning of probably what seems to be a tsunami full of applicants in the foreseeable.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think if I was to edit the language, it'll be a bit more stern, more.
Thank you. I think just to kick it off, we wanted to start it a little lighter, but I definitely want to give kudos to our task force members, Nobles, Carmen, and Hector. Miriam also, we've been working on this on the back end for a little bit. I think we just wanted to clean it up, and we're going back and forth on like the route we were gonna take moving forward. So I think doing the individual for now and then seeing what happens, because again, this map is very much a working draft also of the application process. So thank you guys. I'll stop screen sharing.
Oh, sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
So, there were two that, in this resolution opposed, one of which had already had an approved license and another one that was pending.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm a little confused because, like, at what stage do you decide to like say we oppose them being, like, I would assume it'd be at the stage that they would get their license, that you would say, hey, like, they didn't come to the board. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just confused about the pending one because they may still come to the board, right?
no, definitely hear you. I think ideally in a ideal scenario, it would be before, just to follow the process of the application. But I think with some of the timelines, there was some overlap and, some oversight on some pieces. So I think we just wanted to address and put our voice on the on the agenda for what it's worth, like our opinion there for that establishment, especially the fact that they were granted and they didn't present. So we just want to make sure we're following process moving forward. So again, like very much working draft of the process because of the OCM structure. But I think we wanted to streamline here as a board and try to like get ahead of it in the future.
Okay.
But if I could just add on to that, I think the question was, is there a possibility that the applicant that's still pending
Mhm.
can come before the board and we have just issued an objection because they haven't yet?
I'll let Kathy take.
We don't fully understand like the status types, but if it says they're pending, can't they still at some point in the future come before the board with a complete application?
What? You wanna say?
I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say, because on the website, it says, people, for that application cycle from November and December, all applicants who had proof of control, who had a space, right, and would be able to move forward, which is presumably these folks, they were required to give notice to the board by mid-November.
Oh, okay.
So this is the instance, right? So essentially,
Mhm.
you know, the one that got the license did not give notice to the board.
Yeah.
So the office never, that's what they're required to do, right? They have to
Yeah.
give us, same thing with SLA, right? They're required to give us notice. They're not necessarily required to come in person, but they're required to give notice. That applicant didn't give notice, so that's what Simari's saying, like, we're
Yeah,
alerting them. And the pending one, they were supposed to give notice and also did not.
I see.
Thank
Then
you, Kathy.
Because they're an enforcement agency, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
well, I think that's something that's come up on a few of the brainstorm calls at the higher level of OCM or different levels with the community input. Like, what is gonna be the follow-up on their part for these applicants that try to bypass or loophole the process, whether purposely or not. So I think we're just trying to do our part with making a statement and trying to be in compliance, and just acknowledging the fact that, you know, they didn't present before us or notify.
Okay, that
Sorry,
makes
Steve,
sense.
I skipped your hand.
where does that resolution go to OEM?
OCM.
Also, I think the last question from Isidro, or that I see. Hey, Isidro.
Quickly, Simari, I think OCM has to set a precedent where they have to have the community input before they decide on the licenses. Because oftentimes, if OCM doesn't know what's going on with a particular applicant at a particular community, then they're not going to have a full understanding about the nature of the business. So I think that, you know, they should follow the model for the SLA. You consult first the community board, then we'll consider giving you the license, because it has to be set that way, because otherwise they're going to be doing the reverse. And once they get the license, it's going to be really hard, I guess, to take it back.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we should just request OCM to send a representative to help us understand what is it that they're trying to do, as far as, like, you have all these applicants who are skipping steps, what are the repercussions for it? And I think it's that simple. You know, the structure is there already. It's just they're not doing it. So it's like, yes, you're gonna put a vote, a recommendation of against those applicants, but at the end of the day, it's like, I just feel OCM needs to provide more guidance to community boards as far as what are we doing? You know, like, you're gonna have for some of the folks that enter this business, it's the next gold rush for them. So it's like, you know, the market is gonna get pretty soon. You're gonna have that tsunami effect where the market is gonna get rushed. So at the end of the day, I feel like we should reach out to OCM and figure out what the process is and what are the repercussions of individuals who don't follow the checklist. And do they have to sign some sort of affidavit basically claiming that they did it as well? Because that's the other thing, right? There's documentation that you have to fill for these licenses. So if you checked it off and you didn't do it, you're just perjuring yourself. So just something to think about.
No, thank you. Thank you, Isidro, and thank you, Domingo. Definitely, we're trying to work as boards across the city to try to, like, percolate up to OCM to get more clarity on all of these processes. So I think this is one of the first steps that we can do as CB12, but definitely gonna be working to see if maybe in the fall we can get some representation to come by and maybe do an overview. TBD, I'm not sure on how that would work, but definitely we'll work with the staff on that. And good point to raise on, like, that, like an attestation of some sort, right, for like notice to municipality, to see if that's somewhere in their documents. Yeah.
I'm a bit concern about enforcement.
Mhm.
Like if you were to open up any establishment and you wouldn't get the community board's approval, the SLA will send the whole precinct and shut you down and fine you like $30,000. So I don't know if I didn't read the whole resolution, but that's something that kind of like preoccupies me. See,
Oh, no, they shutting these businesses down.
Yeah.
I don't even think they could come in until after the double litigation.
yeah,
Like
they're
those,
not doing litigation, they're just gonna shut you down and then
we'll do and start the court process.
Then I'll feel you in court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Landlords now are getting attacked as well. So before it used to be like, oh, no, we're the landlords. Now they're coming after the landlords too. So
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they're doing daily infraction fees, like for the
Mhm.
landlords, like 10, 20K a day.
mhm.
Yeah, so they're trying to like, yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. And I don't blame the landlords, because how can you prove that it's going to be a legit business? And right now within my bid, I've been having a lot of problems with smoke shops that have opened up, and then they get shut down.
Well,
And you know,
Bro,
you
to sell
can see that the
cigarettes, you need
landlord
a
has- Go ahead, Domingo, I'm sorry.
Yeah, to sell cigarettes, you need a license. To sell marijuana is the same thing. So the landlords can't say, oh, I didn't know. If you're telling me you're gonna sell cigarettes and you come to me without any sort of proof of a license or anything, imagine like, you know what I'm saying?
But you need a proof of a lease to get the license.
for this.
You need
But-
proof.
Yeah.
But there should be conditions built into that lease that if the operator then
Exactly.
proceeds, the landlord can take action against the
They're
operator.
protect themselves always.
Right.
To Isidro's point, and let's say you have, a prospective tenant who represents, they're gonna, be a bodega or whatever, they have a license to sell cigarettes. If they're also selling things that they don't have a license for, they're not gonna tell you.
Mm.
And that becomes, the problem where they're doing it like quite literally under the counter.
Mhm. But I'm sure that the lease agreement has certain clauses that
Exactly,
protect them.
so
from
that could mean they're in violation of the lease, but the point is, as a landlord, you may say that you're leasing it to someone that has a license to sell beer and wine.
Mhm.
If they're selling hard liquor, they don't have a license for that. Until you find out, all you know is that they're supposed to be selling beer and wine, and they gave you the documentation that they have a license for that. And if they're doing something that is illegal, until someone blows the whistle on them, you don't know.
Well, my biggest thing is, Wayne, like, you can't necessarily, like, these are people who have lawyers, have certain safeguards to protect themselves from certain illicit activities, right?
You mean landlords, right?
Yeah, so we can't assume that these are resourceless people that
I'm not saying that.
are putting up businesses on the guise of whoever comes and asks for a lease. Like, I'm sure that there's certain stipulations that they put in place of, if you're not able to prove that you have a license by this time, this lease is immediately terminated. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So it's like, we can't, but what's happening is, though, and you got Gil Brewer doing like a closing business tour, is like, how don't you know? That's the biggest question. And for individuals that are operating so illicitly out the market, you know what I'm saying?
So there are, two things. There are the landlords who could give a shit, quite frankly.
Yeah, exactly. Those who don't.
Right, but I mean, as we find, with licensing all the time, there are, businesses that say they're going to do one thing, and they have the licenses to do what they say they're going to do. How they actually operate is something else.
Yeah, just about the only way that the city was able to eliminate Canal Street as the counterfeit capital of the world is when they brought in the landlords and made them also accountable of the operation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's impossible to do it all the way.
All right, who's ready for roll call?
I think
Hold
just one last thing. So I think this conversation has proven that there is a lot of gray that we have to still work through as all the different layers of this conversation, right? But I think this is just the first step of many resos to come. And again, just addressing section 76 of of the cannabis law for the 30-day notice, no more than 270 days before applying for a license language. And again, just other language there's just detailing the map and just putting that on the radar, and then just specifying on what they did or didn't do for fulfilling that notice to municipality. So that's really kind of what we're voting on for these two. But again, more to come.
More to come. Chair, how do you vote?
I'm in conflict.
Oh, wait. I knew that.
It's okay.
Simari, how do you vote?
Yes, can I vote on it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm joking, yeah, thank you.
Daryl, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. Michelle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mary, how do you vote?
Yes.
Marielle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Isidro, how do you vote?
Yes.
Wayne, how do you vote?
Yes.
Eleazar, how do you vote?
You take hell yeah?
Sure.
Okay.
And Domingo, how do you vote? Okay, that passes, Chair.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, thanks, Imani.
That's an easy one.
We're gonna go on to talk about City of Yes. Because I want us to, as I said earlier, to get an alignment as far as what's happening the next couple of weeks, what we need to do between now and next Tuesday. And you know, how we can kind of help disseminate those messages to the board. So I'm gonna turn it to Wayne, I guess. So we have a draft. No?
Well, yeah, as I think we reported, the Florida City Planning released the City of Yes zoning text amendment on April 29th, and there's, I think, an 8-day grace period. So technically, the 59 community boards citywide have from May 8th through, I think it's July 8th to comment on it. We had an extensive presentation in May. After that presentation, CB12 submitted, I think it's like 21 questions to city planning for, their follow-up. And we received responses to that maybe a few days before the June meeting. On the date of the June meeting, we also received a 34-page memo that included not just our questions and their responses, but all of Uptown Manhattan, CBs 9, 10, 11, and 12. And that was actually a very useful, informative document. However, receiving it on the day of the Land Use Committee means that I think the vast majority of the committee members didn't get a chance to go through it. And I only was able to go through, about a third of the, of the document. So at the committee meeting, we did not vote on a resolution. I did share with the committee members a markup of this worksheet that city planning provided, which breaks out, I think, the 15 different proposals that are part of City of Yes for, for housing opportunity. And I asked the committee members to sort of use that as a guide to help fill out, which they support, which they don't, which they have questions on. And, little disappointed that, I received feedback from some committee members, not from all. And also in terms of reviewing the 34-page memo with all of the Uptown Q&A, I found that useful in kind of revising some of my markup. So what I did over the weekend, as opposed to enjoying being outside, is to draft for the executive committee sort of a resolution that summarizes a lot of this and, based upon the feedback received, suggest how we might vote on the City of Yes. But what I wanted was for the exec committee to actually get it prior to today, so you had a chance to digest it. But we have it here. So the reality is, in terms of timing, either we vote on something at next Tuesday's general meeting, and if we don't do that, we have until July 8th to submit comments, but that would mean the chair would need to do that on behalf of the board. Later in July, Department of City Planning is going to have its first meeting on this text amendment. And the City Planning Commission will absolutely, positively, definitely vote on it in September. We asked if they could just move it to October, which would give all the community boards at least another full month worth of committee meetings and general meeting. And the response that we got from the Department of City Planning reps was coming from the city council speaker. They want to vote on this before the end of the year. And if they go beyond September with their vote, everyone's going to be focused on the elections, and they're not going to get back to it until January. I believe I copied Catherine. I emailed our city council reps to say, well, this is what city planning says your position is. Do they understand correctly, or would you support the community boards getting another month? I didn't get a response. So to me, that means, city planning is actively representing that the city council wants to vote on this in September, not October. They did say, however, that just like with the City of Yes for Economic Opportunity, they will continue to accept comments, up until they vote on it. But obviously, if they're going to vote on it, let's say on September 16th, if you give them something on September 15th, they don't have time to review anything. So, I mean, it does make sense for us, even if we don't vote on something next Tuesday, it does make sense for us to get it to, like by the 8th. So, while we are in, hiatus, they are not. They are still reviewing it. But what I think is important, and I think I pointed this out at last month's general meeting, the City of Yes for for housing opportunity is not one thing. And they say that, there are, 8 goals, but when you look at the 8 goals, you break it down, there are really 15 proposals that would implement those goals. And so sort of going through them, they have things that pertain to low density districts, and that's R1 through 5. And we are not a low density district. We have one area near Sherman Creek that's actually an R3, but it's owned by the Parks Department. So the chance of anything being developed there is really nil. But the point is, I think we've always been interested in supporting, good planning and design principles, which is why I took the time to, summarize them and comment on them. There are proposals that pertain to high density, medium to high, and medium to high is R6 to R10. We are R7, R8 in general. So that, is where we are impacted. There are also proposals that are citywide, so high density, low density, so we fall into those as well. And then there are a number of miscellaneous things that are not really tied to zoning districts, but they are impacted by, zoning regs, and, they're all broken out. Going through the comments and going through that, from my perspective and the feedback I got, there are really only 3 proposals where there seems to be a sort of a concern on what might be some of the unintended, impacts of the proposals. And for example, the proposal to map new higher density zoning districts. Currently in New York City, the highest residential density that you can do is an FAR of 12, and that's based upon the multiple dwelling law, which the state recently modified so the city can lift that cap. And the proposal is to create sort of now R11 and R12 districts, which would have FARs, I believe, of 15 and 18. And those districts would require MIH, meaning a percentage, 20 to 30% of units would have to be affordable. But it's really not clear where city planning would map those. There are only a few districts in the city that are mapped R10. So, there's concern that where they are mapped may create conflicts in terms of density and scale with the surrounding area. And frankly, some of the comments where they're looking at, Long Island City and the Brooklyn waterfront, people are already saying those developments are too dense. And if using those as examples of where you might do it, so there's concern with that in particular. There's a proposal that deals with, SROs and also with, housing that is primarily studios and ones. Now, SROs I would separate out because the 1961 zoning made SROs illegal and it made buildings that were primarily studios illegal. We protect SROs today. If you own an SRO and you want to convert it, you have to prove to the Department of Housing Preservation and Development that you did not harass the tenants to get out. You have to provide all kinds of documentation. If you want to convert an existing building to an SRO, it is illegal. So it makes sense that if we want to protect SROs as existing SROs as a form of affordable housing that we think we need to keep, it would make sense to undo what was done in 1961 and make them legal again. However, when we look at new developments that come to us, as it is, the buildings have a concentration of studio and one-bedroom apartments now. So it's not quite clear how zoning is acting as an obstacle to that and why we would need to modify zoning so that it's easier to have even more ones and twos. So I would separate those and say SROs, we want to protect, let's re-legalize them. Clarify why, how zoning is even an obstacle to concentrations of studios and ones. And then when we're talking about removing mandated parking, which is not to say that you cannot provide parking. It's saying that the zoning would no longer require you to have parking, but it will be market driven. And let's just remember that going back to 1961 under, zoning equality and affordability ZQA, for affordable housing and senior housing, parking is already optional. And I think that's within a half mile of a subway station. And, in a capitalist, market, we're assuming that if there's demand for parking, they're going to be built. However, the question is, if you begin to have more developments where, the numbers pencil out better, not providing the parking, how does that impact the pricing on existing parking facilities? And although per city rules, the tenants have first choice, if the price is too high, whether the parking is in their building or not, are they being priced out? So those are the three that I point out where, the community board has some concern. And the others proposals, we support. For those three, we're suggesting that city planning, further study, potential adverse impacts and modify the proposals to mitigate those impacts before the City Planning Commission votes on the text amendment. And further, affordable housing doesn't happen by waving a magic wand. And while zoning is one of the tools that can help or hurt, you need public subsidies and all of those stuff. So I think we would agree it makes sense for the mayor to create a multi-agency task force that includes community stakeholders to formulate and implement an ongoing capital plan to develop thoughtfully designed, well-built and well-maintained housing citywide that's affordable to individual and households of low to moderate incomes. So that's what this says, but it's a draft for review and comment by y'all folk.
Thank you so much for this super quick summary of what's been months of work, Wayne. Really exemplary, I would say. I'll just pass it to folks and then we'll kind of figure out what next steps are. Isidro and then Daryl.
Thank you, Catherine. Dwayne, so I'll think that, for matter of convenience, it makes sense to bring this up to the board for this month. And just out of my, part of my stupidity, but what's an SOR?
Single room occupancy,
Single room
a
occupancy.
a rooming house.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Daryl and then Mario.
Why were they first made illegal to begin with?
Well,
Or was this like a Robin Moses?
well, it was one of many things that the 1961 zoning made illegal. The argument is, some of those changes might have been, to be frank, racially motivated, because it was an effort to keep out certain populations. Like, so who was using SROs and, those, residential hotels that were lower income people, people of color. Although in reality, if you look at not Chelsea today, but Chelsea half a century ago, when the Hudson was a working waterfront, there are a lot of people who worked on the waterfront who live in rooming houses in Chelsea. So it was, a form of affordable, low-income housing.
Mario. And then Michelle.
Thanks, Wayne. Hi, good evening, everyone. Sorry I can't be there in person this evening. Just want to echo kind of Kathy's big thanks to Wayne. I know we started engaging with the DCP back in January on this. We had like a couple initial calls and things. And so really, again, particularly Wayne, you've been incredibly helpful and, with your knowledge and expertise on land use and kind of getting me up to speed on a lot of this. I guess just my question, I know you asked Kathy around it, or sorry, Wayne, you asked around process, considering the timing. Obviously, we have the general on Tuesday. I'm concerned that people haven't fully delved into it as they should, despite our own efforts to kind of really encourage people to get up to speed with it and delve into the details. And so I don't know, I guess not necessarily a solution, but I'm just really kind of concerned about that. So I wonder if the agreement is that this will go to the general on Tuesday. I strongly encourage, something from you, Kathy, or the staff that says, this is incredibly important, kind of continuing that messaging that you have already done so that people are up to speed and can, make a meaningful decision when they vote on it. I guess my point. But again, just an echo of thanks to Wayne and the Land Use Committee as well. Thanks.
Yeah. I share your concern that, folks need to really understand and digest, not just the rest, but they need to understand what is and is not in this proposed zoning text amendment. And, if folks were to get it the day of the general meeting, no one's it's long enough that they're not going to read it.
Yeah, even the worksheet. I guess, Thursday already, I have to vote on it at Borough Board, whether I choose to abstain or not. I got to look at the language. They did circulate the draft, so I guess I'll do that, Wayne. I think I have same two kind of concerns. I would prefer that we vote at general because of just the weight of what this is and the work that's been done. I don't mind ratifying it, but then let's do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's if it's about, let's have more time so I can comment, I can read, then give me comments. Not that no one, it's crickets, and then I just got to go with Wayne's because nobody did the work. So that's kind of where I'm at. I can definitely and will continue to send more kind of emails and messages, but I guess I'm also kind of I don't think we have room at general to have a full out discussion of I don't like number 5, I don't like number 8. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if I'm okay pushing to ratifying it, I just want us all to kind of keep echoing then let's get some feedback. Because if it's the same draft, no changes, or no one is responsive, whatever, my summer is still, I'm working at the board even when we're in recess, but I would just want to be able to, because we could have gotten it done a week ahead, but whatever, I don't know. Let's see, Anthony and then Eliezer, and then we'll kind of take it from there. And then Jim.
My question is if you are aware of whether the borough board is doing it by proposal, like we're thinking about, or are they just
But
saying either
people-
yes or no?
Speak up. You can't.
Yeah, my question was whether the borough board is gonna be reviewing it by proposal, the way that we're
Mhm.
thinking about it.
No, I don't know how it's gonna go down, but what is gonna go down is that it's not by proposal, it's all encompassing. So all 12 boards will have to put forth a yes, no. It's either a yes or no. And so somehow there has to be kind of consensus on, what is it, 14 items? 15 items. I haven't looked at the draft yet, they just sent it today, but yeah, there's probably gonna be things in there that not all boards agree. It's just, do we in theory support this as a whole, even if we have different comments? So we've been asked to kind of like get away from the each individual item because we're all gonna have different opinions, especially like FIDI versus us, different world.
So is the, at the borough board or the Manhattan Community Boards being asked if in principle they agree to modification of the zoning resolution to remove obstacles that may exist to the production of housing? I mean, that general?
I can tell you right now. I'll let Eliezer go and then let me look for it.
Where is that later?
Yeah, I think Wayne hit it up for me. My question really is I mean, based on the previous meetings that you've had at the borough board, is the general sentiment that is, like you said, is encompassing? Like, is it like a total package? Is everyone going to vote for yes or no on the entire 15 items, or are they looking at it separately? That's what I'm kind of like trying to figure. Whether it's been sold as a package instead of just 15 individual items that we all may not agree on all 15, maybe 10 of them or so.
Oh, no, I lied. I'm sorry. It's the opposite. So we're asked, I'll send this to Wayne, because I got to pull them the comments from each one. We're being asked to weigh in on each proposal. So really it's one list of comments. So proposal 1, what did I think? What did we as CB12 think? So it'll be bullet points by proposal.
Okay.
So it's more a submission of comments.
So it's mostly comments than just agreeing on the items, basically, if I'm understanding
Yes.
right.
But it's
Yeah.
itemized.
Okay.
Yeah, so it says, I'll read it for the record. So it's, again, drafts, this might change. Where the result is that the Manhattan Borough Board votes to recommend the following for each of the proposals that are part of the application. And so if we have consensus on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, great. If some people oppose, some people oppose. But we have been asked to think about this as a citywide impact and not so much like our own. But I mean, that's distinguished and apart because it's like what I would be voting on is based on what's here. And I think the big 3 that we always talk about at the board. I'm down to wait and I'll do it on like by the 8th. I just, again, want that like support of helping or like letting Wayne know, like, listen, Wayne, I have nothing to add. I don't have the time. I'm not going to review it. I'm not going to give comment because I also don't want us at the last minute to submit something. Anticipate there's going to be big changes when there's not. You know? Oh, I'm sorry. There were people, Jim and then Darryl.
This thing is almost designed to make it impossible to write a resolution. Because there are different pieces.
Yeah.
Some of them don't even apply to this board. And in fact, when Wayne wrote what I wrote, there was some items basically got taken down because they had nothing to do with us. So that's one difficulty. Now, the other, I tend to agree with Catherine that it would be more powerful if we actually voted upon this at the general meeting. And so what Wayne in particular, but with the assistance of our committee, I'm on the land use committee as well, I think Anthony is also, we sort of came up with this resolution that we feel represents what we think the board thinks. And that's the best we can do. And so either they can, sign on to this thing or not sign on to this thing. I mean, obviously, inherent in the resolution, and in fact, I think all members have already gotten the checklist so they can see the various pieces.
Assuming they've seen it.
Right, but I think it's just sent out to them today. That's my recollection. But, so the thing is, let's say hypothetically, the committee misread the board and everyone says we don't like number 7. Well, then before we go on with our opinion on number 7. But again, I tend to agree with, I think, Catherine, I'm probably going as well, that's my others, that, you know, when we speak with a vote, it's more powerful. But on the other hand, well, you know, and Catherine's already been doing this, and, you know, we have to encourage the board members, because we will be voting on this on Tuesday, to make peculiar efforts to bring themselves up to speed, because that would be very helpful to all.
Daryl and then Michelle, and then I think we'll wrap up.
I was just wondering if we had any comments from the other board. Yeah, and then
We have a 34-page document that has the Q&A from CBs 9, 10, 11, and 12. And that was primarily the reason why land use didn't vote on the 5th, is because we just got their feedback, and some of it was actually quite useful. And I would encourage all of our board members to read that, because in responding to those questions, city planning in many instances gave more or clearer information than they provided in the presentations. So in terms of what does the campus infill mean, in the Q&A, you know, they mentioned that it has to be contextual, it has to be this and that. In the presentation, it was not that detailed. So I think it, and I agree with Jim, I agree with you, that we should stress that they need to read not just the resolution, but that memo was critical, because there's a lot of misunderstandings or misinformation. And I think the fact that we and other community boards asked these, you know, I think 100 questions, and city planning, you know, went about, you know, answering that, provides us with, you know, a means to understand what this text amendment is actually going after.
Only
and the lower 8 community boards.
Well, I mean, but the people that we work with represent 9, 10, 11, and 12. So
Yeah.
that, and so they've done this all the time. They will send us all of the questions from our other uptown boards in addition to ours, and we get the answers to all of uptown.
Michelle.
Yeah, as somebody who's pretty new to like zoning amendments and I'm not in the committee, a lot of this stuff is a bit overwhelming. There's just so much information, there's so much jargon. So I guess my first question is like how best to get up to speed with some of it, right? Like you mentioned, there's a memo that was sent out that we can probably find in our emails.
I got you right
don't
now,
know.
actually. So what I just sent before our meeting started was, how do I approach this?
Oh, perfect. Okay, yeah.
All right, 4 steps. Review the City of Yes 101.
Okay.
Right, which is the drawings, the breakdown of the jargon. Number 2.
I cannot understand it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 1, review the City of Yes, which 101, which is what's on the back of this document and the drawings.
Back of which one?
You're talking about the
This one?
checklist?
The checklist?
Hold on.
Which one?
I have it linked in the email, sorry.
Mhm.
It's linked in the email, but it's the basics. It has the drawings of all 15. There we go. Actually, it's this one, the colorful.
Oh, sort of the one pager?
Yeah, it's the 1-pager.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll show it to you in a second. I think I printed it out. So number 1, review the 1-pager. Number 2, the responses to the uptown boards, because we're all pretty similar. Then number 3, complete the checklist. Yes, no, I don't know, right? I also put the option, and I don't know if it'll work, but we'll see, of a Google form, so you can do it on paper or you can do it online of what you support, what you don't support. That we're gonna, anybody who does that between now and Monday goes to Wayne, so he could get a temperature check. And then, oh, thank you. Look at that. And then number 4 is stay tuned for the draft resolution that's going to your email.
Right, and I would say one of the reasons why I, bullet pointed all of this
I don't
detail.
know where to find this stuff.
I just sent it to your email today.
Right, so,
Yeah.
one of the reasons I bullet pointed all of this detail in the resolution, because as I was doing it, one approach was to be much more streamlined, was realizing that my fellow board members, if they have not, read through all this stuff, at least in the resolution, there's enough detail that
Yes.
says, they're talking about buildings that used to exist in the 1920s and 50s that were then made illegal in 1961. But in terms of if you're walking the community, those are the type of buildings that exist now. And what the modification would do would to allow
Sure, yeah,
that.
yes, yeah.
So, I mean, that's why it's 4 pages long as opposed to.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think how you presented it is really great because it like explains the background. I don't understand why we're commenting on mapping the new high density residential districts as you mentioned, CB12 mostly doesn't contain R10, so we likely wouldn't.
Well, no, but we are R7-2 and
Yeah.
R8. So we are in the cluster proposals for medium and high density.
It's the low so
yeah,
the low
it's-
density is like
it's-
the queen, like.
Yeah, it's like
Kew
the
Gardens.
single family,
Or
two family, but the point is, I think, we passed a resolution a few years ago when city planning was promoting guidelines for good urban design and planning. And we said, we absolutely, and we've been, commenting that city planning and the building department need to ensure that they're looking at the quality of stuff. So that's the reason why, although we don't have any low density in our district, except for literally one area, why we're commenting on it is, we think some of the proposals, or at least from my perspective, make good planning and urban design sense. And what's interesting is you read through some of the comments, for example, with accessory dwelling units.
Yeah.
The proposal would not legalize the existing ones because, as pointed out, there are so many code issues with what people have done illegally. Because the interesting thing is, folks are doing this stuff anyway. They're just doing it illegally. And so it would not say that, the house that I have in Queens that I, did illegally because, there's no filing, no means of egress. It would allow you to do it legally, but that means you would have to do it in conformance with
Sure,
whatever the codes are.
Okay, there's Mario who has her hand, so we're gonna take Mario and then we'll just wrap up next steps. And that's-
Thanks, Kathy. So yeah, actually on next steps, I hear you and Jim and would agree with others as well. There is certainly something, particularly for something so large as this, and am in full support of this going to the general meeting. And your email that you sent was incredibly helpful. Again, another resource is that DCP also presented to land use and housing in May. Maybe a suggestion is for each of us as chairs, if we could reach out to our committee members and say, hey, yes, this might be the licensing committee, but this is really, really important. Make sure you read it. Or, because I think that would also help. Most people don't read their emails, let's be for real. And so that personal touch would hopefully get more people to actually, be prepared for Tuesday.
I have to speak to the land use members, but I'll do that privately.
Well, that's what the CB member survey is for, chairs, if folks aren't responsive. Or how you rather communicate, like, let's get there. Okay, so we'll leave it on the.
Tickets with housing.
I think Francis September.
Oh, haircut. So Tuesday, we'll leave it for the agenda for Tuesday.
Hour and 20 minutes.
But-
I will send it 3 times. And then if you have like a group chat, anything like that with your committee members, just nudge them. Be like, hey,
Got a quick question.
and it
And-
happened.
Just a recommendation, right? Cause like I saw this, but this is amongst like 200 emails that we received. My suggestion to the community board is we should have a text blasting. We're not doing business. It's just, hey, community board members, there's a survey out, please fill it out. And cause as somebody who works in a school that has exponentially increased our parent engagement just by sending a reminder a day and a few days before, and the system is only like $500 a year, you know, and you send the reminders like, hey, Mary's event is today. If you have time, please stop by. It's at 5:30 X location. And I think that alone is gonna, because it was dope and it was pretty seamless filling out the survey. But it's like you have 200 other emails to scavenge.
Only 200?
Well, on a nice day, right? Like
Don't
I'm talking
ask
about
me.
end of day emails, but it's like, you know what I'm
I
trying to
know,
say?
I love that
Like,
suggestion, something for sure. So can you email like the
I'll
one that
send,
you
I'll
know?
send the one we use.
And maybe we could start that July 1st, September when we come back.
Yeah, because I
Mm,
think
wow.
like, I think communication, you know, the committee's good and everything, but I'm gonna have to like, agree with Wayne on that is like, you either have an option to either do the work or keep it pushing, be a public member and at your discretion, you show up. You
All right.
know what I'm saying? Like,
I kind of wanted to be done in 10 minutes, but let's see. All right, so I changed tonight's agenda to not do committee reports. Who?
It wasn't voted in committee, so how are we bringing it to the board? Don't we have to vote then on it?
Wait, it wasn't voted at committee?
No, it was not.
No,
We didn't vote on this in
We
committee.
did not vote on it because, as I said, we got the 34-page document the day of
So we vote on this now.
the meeting. So, well, either we vote on it now or it goes to the full board for, you know, them to vote on. I mean,
You
it's like,
can't go to the full board unless somebody approves it.
well, then, you know.
So, okay, so
that's
let's go
why
now.
I spent Saturday and Sunday working on it,
Okay,
and
so,
But what are
begging
we
my
voting
committee
on?
members.
On the
Voting
draft,
proposed- Oh, as it's,
yeah,
okay.
and then it
as
can
the
always,
draft, right, Will?
Well,
Well, we're voting as it's written,
yes,
Oh.
which is
and then it
all
could always be
15 and
amended.
approve.
what?
It approves all 15.
No, it does not.
No.
No, it doesn't approve.
It raises,
Like a draft, yeah.
it raises concerns with the three that I mentioned,
Okay.
which is the mapping of the new high-density districts,
Parking.
loosening the regulations on predominantly studio and one-bedroom developments, and the elimination of the parking mandate. And for those three, it suggests that there is further study on those potential adverse impacts and to modify those proposals before the commission votes on them.
Okay. So. Do we move to a vote?
Yes.
And that-
I think nobody's brought up, also, Wayne is bringing up the resolution, second.
Okay.
Okay, we got it.
Call the question.
You want me
I'm
to
sorry,
roll call
what do
this?
those three
Yes.
sections become in this, that we're just not?
No, we're saying that.
Further studies.
Yeah.
I did, but.
All he's
you're not
basically
being
saying
very
is
clear.
more studies are
I haven't
required,
finished to
that's
read
it.
yet.
Before, more studies are required, but
Okay.
prior to making a decision on them, that's all he said.
Yeah, it's saying that we approve that except for A, B, and C. So those, I mean, and with those, we have concerns and we're asking for further study and modification
Yeah.
on those three.
So we're not saying no to those, we're saying,
We're saying no to them as they're currently written.
Allow me to point out this is already compromised because I would have turned down more. Like this infill thing.
And other folks would have approved everything, so, I mean.
No, but it like seeing it in the
Okay.
it did seem reasonable though, like, cause it's just saying like, well,
So, okay, right now,
Yeah.
wait, so hold on, there was already the motion made, we said, yes, so we're gonna take the votes on as it is. Remember, between today, next week, potentially even to the end of June,
call Wayne.
you can still make edit, you can still say, I don't support this, I don't support that.
Or I don't
And-
understand what it means.
Right, and Wayne can make edits.
Well, I
Okay.
would think, once we vote on it at the general meeting, we can't really make it
If we vote on it at the general.
if we vote on it. But I think we have a consensus that we would speak more powerfully than we did.
Okay, But we can
can't-
amend.
can't.
Cause you know, I didn't want to sound.
Sorry.
Chair,
we
how do you
cannot,
vote?
so, hold
Call to question.
on, are we okay voting?
Should
Are
we
we all
first
okay
take a
voting?
vote to see if we should be voting or should you should
Well-
be ratifying next month? I mean, because we are saying there's a consensus, but I haven't heard from every member
Yeah.
of this committee.
Well, there was
Discussion.
motion that was second. Why don't we take a vote and see if it carries? And if
Okay.
it doesn't, then we, you know,
Good call. Chair, how do you vote?
I say yes.
Simari, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Carol, how do you vote?
Pass.
Abstain?
No, I'm
Oh,
passing.
pass, okay.
Oh, I think a little bit.
I vote yes.
I'm thinking pass.
Michelle, how do you vote?
I abstain.
Mary, how do you vote?
I abstain also, so.
Marielle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Isidro, how do you vote?
Yes.
Wayne, how do you vote?
yes.
Eleazar, how do you vote?
Eleazar, you're muted.
Okay. Domingo, how do you vote?
Oh, yes, pending a conversation with Wayne.
Okay. Coming back to Daryl, how do you vote?
Oh, yes.
And I'll try Eleazar one more time. Are you voting on this resolution?
You got Steve?
Oh my God, I'm sorry, Steve. I had you marked absent. Steve, how do you
He
vote?
was late, he was not absent late.
I was at another committee board, I'm sorry, I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. So right now it's 1, 2, 3.
You mean you didn't get a chance to read it over the
7,
weekend?
8 yeses.
Like this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You're not bringing through.
So like for me, Wayne, like, look, this is how this would, like, that's why I like seeing examples of what it looks like, right? Cause it's like, for me, campus infills, right? Adding new houses already to a large site that has existing buildings on them and already have ample space to add more. Like, would it, like, no, and I'm just talking like from my personal ignorance, wouldn't that be a good thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
that's one of the things
Yeah.
that we did not object
They
to.
carry.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, unless the places you're adding the houses used to be lawns where children could play. And playgrounds and parking lots that people need and stuff.
so
Remember,
hold
think
on,
of- think- let me just,
Okay.
you know, think of Dykeman houses or any other project. They're thinking of sticking more buildings in that campus. And so instead of seeing the next building all the way
Oh,
over
okay.
there, you're gonna see one right outside your window maybe.
So it's like basically little futuristic buildings where the
No.
playgrounds are in the.
Well, they might not be,
No.
but there'll be more buildings than there used to be.
There will be
Yeah.
more buildings than there used to be, and
For instance,
the building code requirements and zoning that pertain to how far apart buildings need to be and all that still apply. And I said, that's one of the interesting things is when this was presented to land use and housing, they did not say that the campus infill buildings have to be contextual. In CB11, which has a large concentration of NYCHA development, so they're very interested in what that means. They pointed out that this is how it would work. So, I mean, you wouldn't have like tall, skinny buildings. You'd have to do contextual building. You have to do quality housing. You'd have to do a number of things.
it's like Stuytown.
Well, I mean, Sci-Town is an example of
Yeah.
a campus. I mean, and in many cases, you have areas in East Harlem. I'm thinking of the George Washington houses where years ago, on the site of a parking lot where they used to have the trash compactors, they built, I think, 60 or 100 units of housing and a charter school next to the playground, which was being, neglected. So as part of the project, they renovated the playground, but they didn't, and that site happened to be sitting right on the street. So, it didn't go in the middle of something blocking it. So the regular planning process that you would have to go through to build something doesn't go away.
Okay.
It's just that currently NYCHA can do this and others can do it. It's a more cumbersome process. And this requirement for it to be contextual, all that is not a requirement.
So
does this zoning amendment make it contextual? Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the answers in the memo that we got. It's one of the questions that CB11 asked.
So the vote carried. This will be ahead of us on Tuesday, so 1 week. We have a week and a day.
What was the vote?
Of the 11 voting, 8 in favor, 3 abstentions.
Okay.
So
Besides,
I will clean this up and resend it.
okay. Besides licensing with Isidro, is there any other committee that has And besides traffic, that has resolutions in front of the board in June? Okay, you and Eliezer, do you have your hand up?
I have two.
Oh, yeah, did I miss voting? Sorry.
Yes.
May I?
Yeah, voting the one.
vote again? Yeah, I'm voting yes. On
Okay,
behalf
so-
of the resolution. My apologies.
So it's of 12, you had 9 yeses, 3 abstentions.
Okay. Marielle, so we're gonna do like lightning round. Let's do like 3 minutes. How many resos? What resos are coming before us next week? Go ahead, Marielle.
Thanks, Kathy. Yes, so for housing, there will be 2 resos ahead of the general meeting. One is on the pilot program for sellers. So using basement apartments and creating kind of basement apartments for housing. It's a pilot program that Carmen de la Rosa is being a part of, and CB12 is a part of this pilot program. The draft will be shared shortly. It passed that committee. And then the other one is the standards on the future of housing in CB12, which is one that I've been talking about for quite some time. We finally had a quorum, and so we're now able to pass it. So those 2 will go to the board. The other thing, just a question, Kathy, really quickly, on the the resolution for Homes Now, Homes Generation. I just wanted to check in on that. If that, I know that I sent it to you, that all kind of went through okay. Is there then a point for that to be circulated on Tuesday as well, and flagging for the general body that it was ratified?
Yeah, that has to get ratified. Thank you. That'll be the Homes Now, Homes Guarantee. That's the the city comptrollers like initiative. They're trying to get city
Correct.
council support. So we signed on last month at exec. So this month, or I forget how it was, but point is it has to get ratified in June. So that's gonna be emailed this weekend too.
And
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, there was a resol signed, sent, and we
Did
signed.
we do a resolution on the rent guidelines?
Yes, there was one as well on RGB. Timing is off because they voted anyway to increase it. But there is a bit which I flagged for the committee. There'll be some planning over the summer on just getting our ducks in a row, so to speak, on RGB, pushing for some modifications for how the RGB is structured. So more to come on that in the fall. Thanks.
So we were able to send in a resolution?
The last year, the letter of support from, basically it was the same one from last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What's your reso coming this one?
This is a resolution that has a bunch of resolve clauses, but it mainly is directing requesting that the ASPCA open up a spay neuter clinic for animals in District 12. This is currently a service that doesn't exist anywhere in Manhattan, doesn't exist in other boroughs. We're asking for wellness and vaccination services, also some other associated services for pets, and also asking the elected officials to join in and provide funding and support for a mobile van that would also provide spay and neuter services to the district. That's our resolution.
Pre-COVID, there used to be a lot of, but post-COVID, these folks are nowhere to be seen. Or just,
Our
Non-existent.
our resolution makes reference to
Okay.
the fact that we used to have a number of these services, including mobile vans, but they haven't existed now for a number of years.
Yeah.
And we're asking that these services be brought back in one form or another.
Okay. And then Wayne, you said you have one more?
Sure.
So, oh yeah, cancer.
Yeah, so the Faith-Based Affordable Housing Act, which we studied and researched and passed a resolution supporting that as it has been modified. And then Near Presbyterian's cancer treatment facility, which requires 4 zoning action, although it's really, one one significant zoning action. The rest is like moving stuff around. We also approved that, and, that to some extent is a perfect example of people not paying attention to what's being discussed. Because during that meeting and the prior meeting, there was someone in chat that kept talking about the luxury 30-story building that was being proposed on, for Washington. It's a cancer treatment building.
Yeah.
It's not housing.
In the wrong location.
But I tell you, I think the resolution, however, should make it clear that the services to be provided in that building are to be provided without.
I circulated the resolutions to the committee for review and comment.
Friendly
I'm
amendment.
waiting for those comments.
Or I'll send them back.
Thank you.
But have we been given a time clock on when they're gonna send it? Have they referred this to us for comment? The city planning department?
Yes,
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
they
Yeah.
did, and I forwarded that to the board. So they formally referred it to us. We had everything except for the environmental assessment.
Yeah.
And when we got it, I sent it to everyone, and I suggested that Steve Solomon might want to share the negative deck with the Health and Environment Committee.
Yeah, he should have done that.
And then I printed a PDF of the negative deck and resent it so folks did not have to click the link to find it.
All right.
See why I need a vodka tonic?
Somebody find me for us. All right, and then hold on, before, go ahead. Is it on the same topic?
No, it's about my committee.
Oh, yeah, traffic. Okay, so traffic got
I
one.
had a question.
Okay, so Domingo, then Jim, and
Wouldn't this be a good time to the psych beds, or this is like, what? Because they haven't,
they say, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't
but they
necessarily.
didn't give them a time. No?
Well, they have now given me a timeline that
Okay.
the beds are gonna be back, like in spring of 2025. But, not that that's very satisfactory, but, I don't know. I tell you, if I could find a way to link the two, I would do it.
Oh.
But, just in terms of pointing out that, commitments, made by the hospital to the community, have to be looked at, very, very closely. But let me tell you one thing. Yeah, if I got 20 seconds. As I was just walking past the hospital, I was really struck by the fact that there are two Orthodox Jewish men like walking outside the children's hospital, and then there's a small group of Muslim women sitting on the wall right outside the children's hospital of New York Presbyterian Hospital. I mean, maybe only in New York could you have a scene like that.
Yeah.
I was so struck by it, I just kept on walking.
Is that better than crossing Delancey?
Well, I don't know, but I was so fascinated by this little site. I just kept on walking, and I forgot to turn and come on 166th Street and come over here to the office.
All right, so we're going to traffic, and then real quick, Isidro with his count. So,
I'm representing Leo, where we passed a resolution about West 158th Street from Broadway to, the Henry Hudson Parkway. It's a 2-lane street. It also has a bike lane, and it also has 2 very narrow sidewalks. And it leads to north and south entrances of the Henry Hudson Parkway. And you can also take the sidewalks to get into Fort Washington Park via this new staircase that was built in, named for Danny Farrell. And all this is there, and it's already a mess, and we want the mess, and this, it's sitting on the table, needed. And I worked with Bruce Robertson, who's in the area on that. I think he did a good job. So basically, we want 2 things. We want them to study this and, somehow make it better. And then the other piece of it is they're in the process of getting ready to construct a 14-story building along 158th Street.
17.
And that one needs staging areas and whatever. And so basically, one of the things we put in the resolution is we also want you to prepare for this. Because there will be delivery, a lot of the time, lanes will be blocked, and in fact, I commented, it's not a resolution, but they will probably need, flag people, I don't know what they're called now. five people. They'll probably need them there the entire time that the construction is going on, because you only have two traffic. Now, it turns out, which we purposely didn't put in the resolution, because we're saying study it, and they'll figure this out when they study it. Turns out, apparently, and Steve would know about this, there's a new entrance to Fort Washington Park at, I think, the 53rd Street. According to Bruce, anyway.
Well, at 153rd and Riverside Drive
It's
is
the
where you
bridge.
walk down the path to get to the Denny Farrell Bridge.
Yeah.
That goes over the highway.
But the point is, maybe they could move the bike lane to street further south, and then they'd have more room to do stuff at parks. But that's for them to do.
DOT moving bike
Yeah,
lanes.
we're gonna talk
We're
about
not
it.
saying close the bike lane, we're trying,
Yeah.
because remember, these folks do have a right to build their building. And
Yeah.
we can't have craziness there because it can
Yeah.
change it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Wayne, Steve, and then we're gonna go to Isidro, who's waiting patiently.
So, I mean, just as a point of information, that 158th Street that you're asking to study also runs into that crazy, I think, five-way intersection
Well, that's in-
that TNT also pointed out.
Basically, they're
Here we
already
go.
studying that, and what we're saying is study the
The
whole
whole
thing
thing.
now.
Yes.
Right, right.
There is 609 West 158, which is being renovated. So the construction staging is the sidewalk and the bike lane. And so at times you do have the traffic going into the wrong lane. And so you're gonna have the same thing on the other side, except it's not on the side with the bike lane, so it's gonna be in the traffic lane.
And there'll be
Hold on,
dump trucks
Steve.
sitting and all this stuff, it'll be.
I'd say my major concern is once the 17-story building is actually constructed and occupied, because that's gonna generate a hell of a lot more traffic.
That's in there too.
Okay,
They're on it. And
Demanding they plan for that.
yeah,
Pretty good, it's in there.
it's in here, okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
I heard.
You got a lot of reading, Steve. All right, Isidro, who's been waiting, what's licensing looking like next week?
Thank you so much, Chair. So we have 11, one of which was rejected because the representative was not there. And cannabis should follow this pattern. And 2 new licenses, which we didn't have much problems with it because there were previous restaurants there. And they kind of bought the places out from an employee that used to work in one of them. So we didn't have much of a problem with them. So in essence, 2 new liquor licenses approved, but in total 11. One of them was withdrawn at the meeting, and that's all, Chair.
Okay. All right, so it's looking like we have 19 resolutions next week. But not as bad as some other years, I think.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I mean, I think the last thing really that I left were just for, any reflections of this year. I mean,
Final?
oh, you can.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because it wasn't a resolution, so I didn't say it, but yeah, but you could
Okay.
reiterate the email so people can read.
That went out to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, so there is, if folks don't know or remember, the bylaws task force, we passed the changes, so that is exciting. And the email you should have received, the executive board specifically in the current bylaws says you have 30 days to offer a response. You don't have to do it as a group, you can do it as individuals. Whatever comments, questions you may have, you can do that over the next 30 days.
So we're gonna get those changes to see, to read them.
They were
When they
emailed
get
earlier
sent
today.
Yeah, they were emailed today.
Yeah.
So then in September, we'll convene and then,
So does
Yeah.
does the executive committee then vote on the bylaws?
No, it
before-
doesn't. It is allowed to make comments.
So we'll wait till those comments happen.
Board will read them, and then the board will decide based upon the wisdom of this glorious body, either listen to you or not.
and then in September at the meeting, people can discuss it.
And then we're breaking it off similar to the city of Yes, right, by portions? That's how we're gonna be voting on the bylaw changes?
We're planning to have a whole
Be
special
very-
meeting on the
Oh.
bylaws.
Well, I guess you can technically break it into articles, but there are substantive and material edits pretty much every line.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be very hard to like bunch them.
Yeah.
I
Um,
And we are gonna have a special meeting
Yeah, in
Yeah.
September.
If
Just
we have
for
a
that.
special
We have
meeting
the
for
date.
bylaws, and
Okay,
everyone can
okay.
discuss their ideas, and then if there's a consensus, we'll modify.
We'll find out.
And most of this stuff, as you'll see, none of it's radical, we just made things clearer and simpler and obviously better. by
There's some new
Anthony
ideas.
and
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
There's some new ideas. I would say.
Cool. I mean, we'll see each other next Tuesday. Friday, I did save the date for, the general, for like our last like hurrah, meet the board before we all go to summer. Just kind of gathering, and that way we can meet our new members as well. We had to shift venues, so hopefully we have a venue
Well,
by
let's give full
Thursday?
disclosure, right? We tried to get Radio Hotel. And, in the spirit of exposing community to like new spaces, new development, it's just unfortunately very unreasonably priced. And it doesn't fall in the budget of the board. So we're talking about for 50, 60 people, we would have had to like pay over $5,000.
There's supposed to be an.
No, the plaza, the space is free, yes, sorry.
Yes, but we have to
We don't
get
talk about
the
it, but-
catering from a
It's the
specific
catering, yeah.
vendor.
The catering, we can't do it there, but I think in next year, for something where we don't necessarily need catering like that, we can have like a mini gathering in the
And one thing
courtyard.
that's been good about the Meet the Boards, if y'all seen, is just the ambient and being able to like,
Mhm.
drink whatever juice you're drinking or eat with and chop it up with individuals, either from the board or from the community. So it would have impacted that ethos of it all, you know what I'm saying? Like the interpersonal relationships that people seek to develop.
So, so working on another location, but I think you see if anybody has an alternative, let us know. We were trying to hit up
Broadway,
70s.
something in the 70s.
Eliasar and we see the.
That's reasonably priced. Right?
On that note, maybe you should check Collegiate Church and 181 in Fort Wash. They tend to be really reasonable. And Catherine, if you so kind, please resend me the survey because I was searching for it and I couldn't find it. Can you please send it? Thank you.
So we're going on the experiences now?
Eliasar, what experience?
So you just said we were gonna talk about our experience.
Yeah, I'm waiting for, okay.
I'm sorry, is there a new date for the orientation for new members?
I'm trying to figure that out, because we have very little days left before we lose people. I wanted to kind of I didn't want to do virtual, but I feel like maybe virtual might be easier.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
I know, we're in person, we meet in person.
Maybe we
Yeah.
could do it at the beginning of September.
Catherine, it's Catherine.
Yeah, listen, sorry. I
Yeah,
called-
just right quick. Send me the details on the date and such about the hotel. Let me give it a try.
Okay.
Okay.
Free
catering?
No, anyways, okay, so maybe early September, so
Yeah,
let me
that's
build
it.
up with the new members because several of them actually weren't gonna be there, and then I had a few of us actually have work conflicts, so that's why it was a last minute cancellation.
Well, why don't we check with them to see if they might be available in July?
Okay, let me find out. Yeah, all right. All right, in the 10 minutes we have, because Domingo started off, I know some of y'all did that in your committee, just thinking about the year you've had. If you want to share any reflections, but you asked, so.
It's been very difficult, but as everything in life, we kind of dwell on the bad or focus on the ways to improve it. That's why I'm recommending that we look at ways of being able to expand communication, introducing like a text feature where people could get just a text back, not to do a committee business, but just to be like, hey, just a reminder, this is out.
Reminders are probably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like, hey, a reminder, hey, this is happening in the park today. Like sometimes we're so caught up in the day where emails could sometimes get lost in the phone. But besides that, I feel like there's a lot of members that need to be revisited and and hold conversations on like, is this something that is for you? Contemplate maybe being a public member if your job currently doesn't allow you to fully bring your best self. But that was one of the biggest issues where it was like constant like, while I understand that life situations do arise, but sometimes we gotta take life into consideration. If life currently permits us at this stage to engage in more situations, you know, so I feel like that's extremely important. But of the members that did show up, I'm grateful for the committee members that are there that went above and beyond, took it upon themselves to reach out, not only to other stakeholders that they usually engage with, but to educate individuals that they felt should have learned the specific area, right? Like for me, it was so humbling to learn more about universal childcare, the budgeting process at the state level when it comes to education. Even though I'm engaged in the field, I wasn't necessarily too educated on the processes of how that went through as far as funding. But yeah, so communication is the area to improve, I feel. So I will be working with our chair to try to bring in some, because after that, I'm gonna just try to tell you, whoever the secretary is, go after them, bro. Because that excuses ain't cut it. Oh, I didn't know. Like, is that your phone number? Yeah, I'm sure you did.
All right, I'll do, sorry, Anthony, I know, I see Marielle and then Mary.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to the absence thing. So we are taking action. One of the things that we've started to do is just have phone conversations with people. This way we can record. We've had a documented conversation with you, understand what's been happening. You know, why haven't you been attending? Hopefully that incentivizes or really, you know, pushes them to come starting in September and be more consistent. And when it doesn't, then the second conversation will look very differently, right? Recall last time we had this discussion, now you're still not coming to things. Maybe you really should think about resigning. And also don't forget the bylaws do allow the board to remove you when you're not attending as frequently as you are. So the other thing we're doing as well is we drafted a letter, chair's reviewing at the moment, for anyone who hasn't been attending 3 or more meetings in the last 6-month period. We're going to be sending this kind of warning letter. You know, we use soft language, but it's a warning letter, reminding folks of the bylaws provision, and also, you know, trying to nudge them to think about whether this is still the right move for them to remain on the board, and taking a position from someone who potentially would be here every meeting and be really engaged and active. So we are taking action.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
I can say that was something that was done in the past. And it worked.
We
Yeah, it
actually
does
have
work.
forums,
It really
but
worked,
probably we can do
because-
better now.
They've had to,
I can tell you, I had a conversation Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever.
Yeah, you
morning
have
that
to
was,
fill me
where we-
in.
Where we were, yeah.
That's a problem.
You know, I shared what the person said to me, and I said, well, you know, we can't see you on camera and you don't have your name there. I can't prove you were there.
Yeah,
I said, you need to call the office and
'cause I see people all everywhere else, and they're supposed to.
what they say.
Yeah.
I said,
Okay. Okay. Marielle?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think we've had a really good year on the Housing and Human Services Committee. I think I've shared this with you. I really like kind of like our group vibe. Everyone is committed.
Ooh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Marielle, can you unmute? I did that by accident.
Okay, all good. No, I was just saying that I think that we really have a really nice group on the Housing Committee. Everyone's engaged. Everyone has kind of their issues that they really care about. And I think what's been nice is that everyone has kind of stepped up in different ways to support the work of the committee. So either it's writing the resos or inviting speakers or writing the minutes. And that's been really nice to see. And I kind of hope that continues into the future as well. I think one of the things that I'm learning, we didn't have time, unfortunately, to kind of just take a little bit of a step back and reflect. But my personal learning is it's busy. And so one of the things, especially for us, that I would like to do over the summer is just plan out those key moments throughout the year. Because there were a couple things that caught us off guard on housing. And so I think and obviously there will be things that will come up and we just don't know. And we'll just need to respond. But I think planning to say, okay, I know that, you know, May is a really busy period. These are the things that we need to be planning for now so that we're in a good place for when that time comes. So that's one thing. The other thing I would just say is, in terms of communications, maybe a suggestion for how we do kind of sending resos and minutes and stuff like that to the staff, because I also get kind of lost on emails sometimes. Is there an option, or is there an opportunity to consider something like a Google Drive that the chairs can drop in the reso drafts when they're done with them? They're in there, so that way we're not emailing back and forth saying, hey, where's the draft or where's the reso? You know, sometimes those things, get lost, and it saves people's inbox. And then just want to echo something that I think it's easy to put in the chat. Just a really big thank you to you, Kathy, and the rest of the executive team. I think you've all done really, really well. And, it's an honor to serve alongside all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. I love that idea about the drive. We had played with it, but I think we could play with it more and see if all the chairs let's talk about it more, because I think it does get overwhelming sometimes, the back and forth of emails with the office on resos and minutes, agendas. So
We've used it internally in TNT.
okay, that's good to know. All right, anybody else? Yeah, Mary. Yeah, and then we'll go down.
The aging committee, one of the difficulties we've been having is getting people to come in person, the members, because I think people got people are at their jobs and it's sort of in the middle of the morning, although we've talked about having other times, starting earlier, and without the staff, the board staff here, we just can't start earlier. And we haven't been able to, whether that's something, once we get the full staff in, we might be able to think about again, but, for right now, can't do it. But one of the things that we did pre-COVID was go out to the senior centers for our meetings. And that worked very well, because the idea of our committee is to spread the word and go to the seniors aren't coming to us, so we went to them. And we had our, every month, a different senior center in the district. And that worked out very well. So we started again, actually in the spring. We had our, April or May meeting at the Dykeman Senior Center. And that was really well attended. And, the members there were very enthusiastic. I mean, there are some things that we've got to think about that I didn't think about, returning to a senior center. Is one, we have to have our agendas bilingual. We have to have our translator available. And unfortunately, my one translator that I have, Dora Garcia, a public member, was not able to be at that meeting. So, I engaged somebody else from another organization and then to translate for me. She was there. So it kind of worked out. But that's our goal, is to continue those meetings in the senior centers. I doubt it'll be every month, but at least every other month. People are enthusiastic about that. The senior center directors are gung ho and ready.
That's good.
But again, the membership needs to be fine tuned.
Okay. I think you want to say
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Are we ever going back to Isabella?
No,
I said they completely closed their office.
that's correct. Isabella is not interested in the community. Even though things get said out of their mouths. And I know them very well, because I used to, practically live up there. It's my second home when I was involved in all kinds of stuff up there. It ain't happening, okay? They have not even been willing to reopen the gift shop.
Oh, wow.
That's correct, because I, along with two other people, used to work the gift shop, okay?
You talk about Isabella?
Yeah.
Interesting. Hold on, Daryl, and then.
Yes.
No, I think it's been a very good year overall. I think the committee of the board has been much better than I've seen it in recent history.
The what?
Committee.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Not with the D.
Not with the T.
The comedy, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Your comedy's always great. So,
Thank
Oh, wait, sorry.
I mean, I would, agree with that. I mean, I've been on the board long enough to know we had some, rather uncivilized meetings, and quite frankly, there was someone I was trying to get to apply, who is an architect who, just looking at some of the online chatter, thought there were members who were being racist and rude and you would have nothing to do with this board. So I think, you run a good meeting and people have been behaving. For land use, in the past, I kind of complained about, getting timely minutes, and for a period of time, I would run the meeting and draft the minutes and draft the resolutions, and I really want to thank Anthony and Heidi, who are sort of tag teaming to take care of, the minutes this year, and we're getting them in a timely manner. And, I think in general, the new members of the committee are, bringing, new energy to it, and I think some of the folks who've been there a while need a little Geritol.
Not all of them.
Does Geritol still exist?
Yeah, that's white. I haven't seen Anne's board in years.
Yeah.
Can I speak about my committee, which I think has been functioning pretty well and has a pretty good core group of people. We're very pleased with them, and it looks like we've lost a couple of people, or actually, I really don't know what's become of Jay Mays or what his health status is.
Not good.
Yeah.
We hear about him a lot,
Yeah.
frequently stuff.
Is he? Do you know if he's back home?
No.
He's not going back home.
No.
No. You can visit him.
Sold out his apartment.
Oh, I didn't know he's at Isabella.
He's in Isabella House.
He's the first permanent resident up there now.
Is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
All right, so he hasn't.
He's not on the board.
Oh, he's not on-
No, because he would have had to reapply.
Okay,
Yeah.
so and Luis Cruz evidently is also.
He's not on the board, yeah.
Okay.
So all the new appointees,
All right.
July.
All right, so I'm certainly hoping that we get at least a couple of replacements. But let me ask you, it seems as though we used to have a mechanism by which the committee agendas would get sent out to the public in advance of our meetings. So people had a fairly good idea of what was going to be discussed. That doesn't seem to be happening anymore. It only gets included in the weekly or monthly newsletter, which, doesn't get seen maybe, or, you don't see it close enough to the meeting time. But the mechanism that you're talking about, Domingo, with reminding people about meetings and things, would that give us the ability to send these agendas out to people ahead of time?
So, it's a per person fee attached to it, right? So like, for instance, I currently probably have like 1,100 people, but the only thing is that it has to be like,
Site counts.
yeah, you have to just make sure that the individuals, like, I would say, let's first pilot it amongst the board
Well,
before, because it's gonna add, especially like, let's say you get 3,000-4,000 people, it's gonna be a pretty hefty expense.
well, then I would like to go back to the old practice of having the office send out the agendas to people, a day or two before the meetings or whatever. So
Yeah, I would
Can I
say,
say something about the agenda?
yeah, go ahead, because I was gonna say something.
There's only one thing, when you are on Zoom for these meetings, like when I'm on Zoom, I don't get any of these materials.
Yeah, well,
Oh, when you participate.
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's another reason why.
And that's why I'm struggling to get here to the meetings, because
Yeah.
even though I'm in a lot of pain.
Yeah. No, and I get it, but
wouldn't
it
get to
is
see
a
any
mixed
stuff.
bag, right? Because if the office doesn't get it, then they don't get it, and an hour before or 45 minutes before won't cut it, especially for a general meeting, right? Like they're already shifting to prepping and going to the site by 4 o'clock. So if Paola doesn't have and I think we just have to be more clear about cutoff times, right? If it's not here by 1 p.m., they're not gonna send it out.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think there's ways to integrate both, because we have been having, like, I get what you're talking about in terms of how we used to send it. And at the same time, we're actually getting more people to open our emails, read our emails, and click on our emails than before. I think right now, like, we're playing with having more like auto send. So like, if I didn't open the first time, I get it twice after until I open it. So we're playing a little bit with that. And I think that, like, if we were to get agendas earlier, we can make sure they're on the website. We can have like little screenshots or something like that, but it's just a little bit more planning, that's all.
But, okay, but could we send them out? Did they not just put it on the website so that?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, it'll be like, yeah, we could send it out if we have it and it's on the site and it's clicked, because the thing is that if I'm participating on Zoom, and I go to the website for the Zoom, all the materials for the meeting should be there. But that's if the office has it and is able to put it on time. Does that make sense?
But to Steve's point, I mean, Paula is very good about always sending me a draft of the land use agenda well in advance, and I get back to her. But in the past, once I said it was okay, that agenda would be emailed to at least the committee members, and what I found is committee members will email me the day of
Yeah.
the meeting or the day
No,
before
it's fine for the
saying
crack.
what's on the agenda. It's like, even though they can go to the calendar, they're used to getting it. And in the newsletter, what I notice is, although sometimes
Like a
there is the
summary.
agenda there, if I have 5 items on the agenda, they'll bullet point 1 or 2.
Yeah,
And we were dealing with, I think might have been Presbyterian, and that wasn't one of the 2, that was both. So they all were contacting me, saying, I thought we were on the agenda for tonight. I said, "But you are."
Okay.
And then I noticed, but it wasn't in the newsletter. It only was 2 of the 5.
Okay.
yeah, and the newsletter comes out shortly after the general meeting, I believe. So by the
It's
time,
every Monday.
so after the general, so,
Oh,
Every
yeah.
Monday.
Every Monday, so it depends on the,
oh,
It's weekly.
it's weekly. Oh,
yeah, it's weekly. So it depends on
but it
how
doesn't,
the general,
okay, but it doesn't
lands.
seem to have the up-to-date agenda. It's still, whatever I.
Sometimes the
whatever,
link is to
whatever,
old material.
yeah, whatever I send
Ah.
in, it's using whatever I sent in prior to the general meeting. And so that could already be out of date, because people are
Right.
canceling out on me, or I have to make a substitution or something,
yeah, okay. No, but these are really good points. Let's think about like how we can send it in advance. And I think for sure, making sure it doesn't fall through the cracks with committee members. So whether that's the Google Drive or something like that, that we can make easy. Jim, before we wrap up, because.
Well, as parliamentarian, I would like to make my observation.
Mm.
And I agree with all of you okay? That, hell, Mary has to hear.
Yeah.
It's absolutely disrespectful, so she doesn't hear.
And I have my hearing aid turned up, so it's, you know.
I agree with all of you that this year in many ways has been a really good year. We have a chair, and I think the chairs in general, and maybe even board members who understand more than in the past, collegiality and working together. That's not only what we should do, but we have a responsibility to do this for our community. So the community sees that its community board acts in some reasonable manner. Now, the criterion I use as parliamentarian is the less I have to do, the better things are going. And most of the time I have remarkably little to do nowadays. So keep up the good work.
Look at that. All right, perfect. I don't think we have any old business or new business.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have an announcement, though.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Mary
It's not- it has nothing to do with the community board.
Mary Ellen has her hand up.
Oh, I think it was, let me go let Mary first, and then I think it's an old handle, but we'll go.
Oh, okay. Sorry?
No, go.
Tomorrow morning from 10, well, it starts in the morning, from 10 to 1. There's gonna be a senior health fair and through the DA's office, but it's being co-sponsored by New York Presbyterian, Waikoa, Isabella, and ARC 16. And it's gonna be down on the 2nd floor, so if anybody has friends and community people, from 10 until 1.
And bring all your
There's gonna be
documents.
lots
You
of
want it
cabling
shredded,
and there's gonna be lunch.
Yeah.
All kinds of things.
right? And bring your documents if you want them shredded. Right?
That's right, there's
Oh,
gonna
they're
be
doing
a
the
shredding
shredding?
truck
Yeah,
outside,
so
and
you-
that's for the whole community,
That's
for
what I-
anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody can bring, I've got
Yeah.
my side, listen, I gave me the incentive to clean out my file cabinet, and I got it done.
All right. Mario?
And I was at
Yeah,
events.
thank
all
you.
week, too, with things going on.
So just really quickly, and I'll kind of tell you more offline, Kathy. Just wanted to flag that I had mentioned it a while ago. I've been trying to work with Espaillat's office and a couple other kind of community organizations on pulling together an event on immigration. It kind of went silent for a little while, but it has kind of come back up. And so his office has reached out to me. I just saw them in Washington earlier this month. And part of it involves some other stuff. Point is, it looks like August might be the date. And there might be a thread to loop in the community board, but kind of in the planning stages. Once I have more information, I'll let you know.
And we'll have our outreach person over the summer, so, we'll meet them at the board meeting. I'll have them, so you'll get to meet her, Mario, for that.
Oh, we got a meeting tomorrow?
No,
A parliamentarian, or we
but
adjourned?
we're adjourned.
Are we adjourned?
There was two people.
I think there was, well, actually, we always do it wrong.
All right,
The second
good night,
one is
everybody.
not enough.
Oh, yeah, you gotta.
Getting up is not a vote. I mean,
Yeah.
that's